Ladies and gentlemen, the players are ready. First up out of the tunnel from Slovenia, please welcome Grega Zemlja. Switzerland, defending champion Roger Federer.
Welcome back to our live coverage of the Qatar ExxonMobil Open 2012. It's day 3 of our live coverage. Second round action. Jason Goodall alongside Barry Cowan. Robbie Koenig will be courtside as usual with his analysis throughout the course of this one. Up next, it's Gael Monfils against Benjamin Becker, but Roger Federer, the defending champion and second seed, is up against Grega Zemlja.
Bonne année, Happy New Year. Happy New Year. Gentlemen, you guys know everything. We have Oka and a 5 minutes warm-up. Any questions? Greg, ahead, steps. That's steps. He starts. Good match.
Cedric Mourier is the umpire. Federer winning the toss. No hesitation at all in electing to serve. It's a nippy one this evening, no question about that. Not sure how Robbie's coping. Courtside, he does have a pretty thick jacket though, so he'll be all right. And it's pretty breezy as well, so players have found it a little difficult to play their best tennis, but top seeds have managed to come through so far. Tsonga winning in straights, as did Nadal over Flavio Cipolla and Dennis Gremmelmeyer, respectively. And of course, Federer the big favourite as far as this match is concerned, and the winner will play Andrea Seppi. First man through to the quarterfinals. He was a winner earlier today. His match started at 3:30 local time over on court 1. The 8th seed from Italy, beating Spain's Guillermo Garcia-Lopez. She hit a lot of balls, so Seppi will be in good form come tomorrow. And of course, historically, he has found it difficult against the very best players in the world. Nevertheless, always nice to get a couple of matches under your belt at the start of a new season. Well, Barry, I haven't seen a great deal of Zemlja. What about you?
Like you, Jason, I haven't seen a great deal of him, but certainly earned his ranking by doing well in challenges. I think it's a match that Federer will approach in the professional manner. And actually, Jason, we were discussing with Guy in the previous match with the conditions, you know, who is the best win player today? Because, you know, Nadal has obviously won some big matches, high-profile matches in the win, but I think Federer is also exceptional in these conditions because he can use the slice, he can change the pace, he can make life difficult, and he always seems to serve well. It's like Sampras, it didn't matter whether it was windy or whether the sun was in his eyes, he always seemed to be able to serve great.
And I always use that as a great barometer to suggest who are the greatest players, when you can watch on TV and have no idea what the conditions are. Yet you can get courtside and think, geez, it's tough to play good tennis today. And those guys are just acting as if it's normal. But it's so nice to have a little slice backhand, isn't it, as well, when it's exceptionally breezy. I'm sure we'll see Federer put that to good use this afternoon. But this is a tournament whereby, you know, if you have made your way up on the challenger circuits, you do get opportunities. Qualifying's not particularly tough here. So, you know, you can make a name for yourself, and you'll certainly do so if you're able to get the better of the defending champion. What did you make of Federer's first match of the tournament yesterday, Barry?
Very, very impressive. He was in and out last week in the exhibition, but it was an exhibition. And Federer knew that there was tougher things to come this week, and I think he'd be delighted with the way he played. I mean, Davydenko, it's not the same player as we saw a couple of years ago, even last year when he made the final and lost to Roger. And I think just everything seems to be clicking into gear, but I think we need to hold fire until he plays the likes of a Nadal, potentially at the end of this week, or a Djokovic or a Murray towards the back end of the Australian Open. But certainly this great run doesn't seem like it's going to end anytime soon.
Well, give us a bit of feedback on those matches that he played in Abu Dhabi, because I didn't get to see them. Obviously read reports of them on the internet and in the newspapers, but you were commentating on that particular event. Was it very obvious that it wasn't an official tournament, or was he simply outplayed and a bit subpar?
Very quick, which always lends itself towards players, if they're not quite at the top of their game, making a few more unforced errors. And certainly the feeling for Federer was he didn't really want to go deep into the rally. Why would you in an exhibition? Save it for tougher tests further down the line. But he was hitting the ball well, but when has Roger never not hit the ball well? So
fair to say that we're still on this 18-match winning streak then?
Absolutely.
Yeah, very different
Never
story.
counter an exhibition.
Yeah, very different story for these guys when it's an official event. It is indeed Cedric Mourier up in the chair. And I guess when you're playing someone for the first time, no surprise that this is the first time that these two have met. It's all about trying to work your opponents out as quickly as you possibly can, isn't it?
Well, obviously, Zemlja has more of an advantage than Roger. Sure, you've seen him plenty of times, but that's always the problem with a player like Zemlja, is you see a Roger Federer play in the semi-finals of the US Open against Djokovic, or the semi-finals of the French when he beat Djokovic, and you see Federer at his very best and easy to feel intimidated. But you just got to try and play your game and see what happens.
And sometimes, you know, when you are a higher seed, we're not keeping you up there, Mark, are we? It is difficult when you don't know your opponent. I'm sure Tsonga suffered from that yesterday when he played Malik Jaziri. I'm sure he didn't expect him to come out playing as well as he did. And he was lucky not to be a set down there, Tsonga. And of course went the distance in the end before eventually prevailing. So, you know, if you can get off to a really good start, if you can forget about the size of the occasion and the fact that you're playing one of the greatest players ever to have graced our sport, and you actually just say, I've got nothing to lose here, I can go out and open my shoulders, and you happen to have some big weapons. I mean, that was the big advantage yesterday for Jaziri. He had a huge forehand and he served well, he took the return on, hit a lot of winning shots and rushed Tsonga into error. If you have those weapons and they're working well, it's possible you can get off to a decent start, and then you never know. That's the attitude you've got to have, isn't it? It might be my day.
Yeah. But it's not going to be your day if you go down a break early against these great players. Incredible, really, that two Slovenians in the top 120. Zemlja 116, Kavcic at 92. Such a small tennis nation, and how many of these smaller tennis nations are having sort of one, possibly two players around the top 100 mark?
Yeah, it's an exceptionally good effort.
Talking about Mirka, this is the easy part of a day.
So we're all set for the commencement of the third match of the day here on centre court. Jason Goodall alongside Barry Cowan, Robbie Koenig courtside as ever to see Federer get proceedings underway. And he's slow out of the blocks.
I'm not sure I've ever seen anyone take that forehand as early as Roger Federer. Even John McEnroe years ago.
Well, it's a tougher shot as well, isn't it? Because, you know, all due respect to McEnroe, who of course was an absolute genius on the court, Federer's trying to hit with a lot more topspin, so it's much more difficult to time it as sweetly as he does most of the time.
I always feel, though, for Zemlja, it's such a demoralising first point, because you see that come back at you. Oh, no.
It's a nice swift start, and time now for us to touch base with Robbie. Just give us an update, mate, on the latest conditions down there? Still as windy as it was earlier and getting colder by the second?
Definitely hit the nail on the head. That's exactly it. See Roger doing a couple of side to side, just trying to keep warm. And it is very cold. I mean, I think the ball through the air is going to be very slow as a result of it being so cold. And of course, it's all about game management in these kind of conditions. And a smart shot selection.
15 love.
That's a nice shot there. Some news out on court one. Mikhail Yuzhny, the 7th seed, has overcome Ivo Karlovic in 3 sets, 6-2, 6-7, 6-3. And if you listen very closely, you can hear Nadal cheering from the locker room. Nice little shot from Federer. Confident one too.
40-50.
Sort of say, yeah, you thought I was going to go for the drop shot. A little head fake. Still loves playing tennis. Loves competing and also loves the game. So important to have both.
Yeah, some interesting quotes from Serena Williams this week about not being in love with the game and not really actually fancying sports all that much. So it's very strange coming from world number one and somebody who's won so many Grand Slams. But it was interesting, wasn't it, what Paul Annacone was saying, having worked with Sampras before Federer, and he said their outlook at this stage in their career is so different. Sampras was burnt out completely and had fallen out of love with the game, whereas Federer still loves it so much. It's a good service game, that, from Zemlja. We'll do the confidence, the power of good. One apiece.
Do you think it's right, though, a player like Serena Williams should be as honest as that while she's still playing? Because it doesn't do the game any good, does it?
No, and
you might think it.
No, and the women's game needs all the help it can get at the moment, you know. And as a world number one, you have certain responsibilities, I think. And I think we're lucky in this era that likes of Federer and Nadal do have such respect for the history of the game and what it means to be world number one. Djokovic now as well, and have given back to the game so much over the years. It wasn't always the case. You know, and I think in this sport, Barry, we have world number ones that have respect across the sporting world. And that's so important. They've done wonders in raising the level of the game. When you consider that people now know the likes of Federer and Nadal that don't follow tennis, which can only be great for the game. You know, Serena too has a very high profile, especially in America. But to come out with a comment like that, you know, it's naive, I think, at best.
That's a smart serve from Federer, using the wind.
Yeah, used that a little bit yesterday, and I liked it because, as Robbie Koenig was suggesting earlier, you know, in the wind, the slower the shot that you hit, the more it moves through the air. Tougher it is to time, generate your own pace. Likes to hit his spots, very rarely will serve into the body. But, of course, it's one of the most accurate deliveries in the business. Nice start by the defending champion. 2-1.
Better serve now than 5-6 years ago.
It's an interesting one, isn't it? We had this discussion, I know, at the 0-2, didn't we? He's had to adapt it, I think. I think there's more variation now. The disguise has always been outstanding off the same ball toss, the ability to hit, you know, all four corners of both service boxes. He's had to think about what to do behind it as well. I mean, when you think back to the first Wimbledon that he won against Philippoussis, I looked at some stats there, and I think throughout the course of the tournament, serve volleyed over 80% of the time.
Well, even that year he won, because I knew he did it against Sampras.
Yep, against Philippoussis that year. And of course, the last time he won Wimbledon, it was in single figures. So, you know, his game has changed so much, as have the courts. But I think he's done well to adapt his game every single season to try and stay at the top of the game. That's why he's had such good longevity, and he still feels he's got a good 2 or 3 years left at the very top. Heavy-handed there. Sensible shot from Federer just to keep Zemlja thinking all the time. Good opening service game. Needs another one here, though.
And that's the shot that has become so difficult to play. Roger Federer, that single-hander pass.
It's a variation that you see throughout the course of the rally that's so tough for opponents. We saw a little bit of everything there.
Love 30.
Yeah, it's that slice that looks innocuous, but it isn't. And I feel actually if Federer hits that slice to you, I think you've got to go back down the middle. I think to give him the angles to play with, he's going to punish you. Because you go down the line, he's got the running forehand, you go cross-court, he can run around the backhand, and as we saw, the forehand devastating. Roddick still has nightmares over that shot.
No question about that. He's got to post some pretty good numbers on serve today to stand any chance at all. Good length. You know, you always feel rushed when you play against the best players in the world. You've played Sampras at Wimbledon on one of the biggest stages in the world. It's tough, isn't it, when you're always feeling like you're playing off your back foot?
Yeah, the ball comes through a lot quicker than you normally expect. In some ways, Jason, though, it can be a little easy because at least you know you have to commit 100% every single shot. If you're playing someone lower ranked, the back of your mind, you think, I should go for it, but actually, if I just put the ball back in court, I might still win the point.
Yeah, no, I often make that point when, you know, players come up against the best players in the world. You know, there's no line there that needs to be drawn. It's got to be your best or nothing. So sometimes it does simplify matters in terms of decision making, doesn't it? You know, you've got to go for it. It's a wonderful backhand. We've seen Federer's vast array of ground strokes already in the opening 4 games here, and they all seem to be working exceptionally well so far. No pressure created as yet by Zemlja. Federer leads 3-1.
Yeah, approaching 1,000 matches, and how many of those 1,000 matches has he got a break of serve in the first couple of games? One of the best players I've ever seen at starting fast.
15.
Let's touch base with Robbie courtside. I've been impressed with Federer's sliced backhand. Robbie, what's it like seeing the trajectory of that shot fizz over the net, an inch or so above it, and then stay about 6 inches off the floor?
Yeah, but it's so tough to guard against when you're the opponent. You can't do anything off of it, especially if it's got a little bit of bite on. It is such a good neutralizing shot when he's defending. But of course, when he's attacking the slice as well, it just causes so much problems to the guy on the other side of the net.
Nice shot to use in the wind as well, isn't it? Highly effective.
Such a high percentage play, isn't it? It's the key.
Out. 30-50.
Of course, it's all about bringing the margins in when you're playing the wind. Playing the percentage as well. We were speaking a little earlier, Jason, about how well Nadal does that. That's what makes him such a good player in the wind.
That's the shot you were talking about earlier. You're going back there cross-court, you're trying to defend, you're trying to stay in the rally, but you then offer Federer one of his favourite shots, don't you?
He really does have great footwork. The balance there. There was a feeling sort of early on in his career that he was a little lazy with his feet, but I didn't always subscribe to that theory. But certainly now, I think his preparation is second to none.
It's a very different type of footwork to, say, Nadal, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's a lovely combination. It can be misleading at times. He seems to find himself in a decent position, so the footwork must be good. He's got off to a flyer here. Leads 4-1.
Yeah, and one of the things also often talked about, Jason, is, well, you know, Federer mishits a lot of balls. Well, one of his biggest assets is how early he takes the ball. So you're taking the ball that early on the rise, you are going to mishit a few.
And of course, as well, you've got to consider the fact that the sweet spot in his racket is so much smaller than all of the other players, and often that doesn't get talked about. It's so hard to time the ball perfectly when you're doing exactly that, taking it early. Racket head speed's phenomenal, and you're trying to contact the ball so thinly, aren't you?
Yeah.
That it's amazing. He doesn't shank more. And it's a similar scenario with Nadal, but his racket head is so much bigger than Federer's.
Time.
Just a small observation there. Both players so quick out of the chair on the change of ends. Neither of them wants to be sat down for too long because it is cool, because of the breeze. I'm trying to keep those muscles nice and warm.
30.
Jason, I don't know about you. If I was Gemma, I'd be using the full 90 seconds.
Yeah, because you know, things happen very quickly, don't they? When you're out there and you're getting
40
big.
minutes already.
Yeah. And of course, Federer likes to play quickly, so he's in his comfort zone. And, you know, often it's a legitimate tactic. You've got to try and slow things down. Take your opponent out of their comfort zone legally when you can. It's better serve. He's still got a pretty decent number of first serves in. 9 of 14, 64%. But you know, is it going to be effective enough? It's only 170 kilometers an hour. That one was, but throughout the course of the match, maybe not.
He hasn't really done a whole lot wrong, to be honest, Zemlja. So just been blown away in the opening 5 games.
40 love.
You know, when there is such a big discrepancy in the rankings, you've got to expect that occasionally. He's just outside the top 100, 116. Plays primarily on the Challenger circuit. Came through the qualifying here.
Game Zemlja.
Of course, beat a wild card in the first round.
Federer leads by 4 games to 2.
3 sets. So he's had a pretty decent draw. And that was a better service game.
He's out-acing Federer, 3-1.
Take every win you can get.
He's also hit more unforced errors. Does that count?
Definitely. Bettered Federer. 2 numbers.
59.
It's all about concentration once you do get a break-up. Especially when you're winning pretty comfortably and you're holding as easily as Federer has so far. That's a little wild.
15-30.
Bad volley from Federer. He didn't need to hit that volley as hard as he was looking to hit it. Just cut it across the court, use a bit of wind. So how many times... Sorry, Jason, how many times over the years did we see Pat Rafter hit that little short angle?
30.
Yeah, Songa as well, just taking the pace off the volley. It's a lot harder to do, but Federer certainly has the talent to be able to do so. Poor shot selection there. Oh, it's a lovely backhand. Had plenty of time to get set up there. And I'll tell you what, nowhere, it's Zemlja with a break point now. Perfect target there. Very tough to cover that. Let's see what he can do here. It's a shame.
And when Federer was having those difficult moments at the beginning of last year, time and time again on a break point, he seemed to not be able to find that first serve. But how the sort of changed the last few months of the tennis season, and another first serve there.
Excellent return. Good length, nice pace. It's a heady cocktail. Federer doesn't like to give up any territory at all, so he'll stand there and swing at that. Tough to time in windy conditions. Another chance to break here.
That's really disappointing from Zemlja. Did a good job to get the serve back in play, and he had that forehand. He just didn't do anywhere near enough with it. See, that's the shot, Jason, I just feel, have a go. At least if you have a go and miss it, you've given yourself a chance to win the point.
And you feel a bit better about yourself, don't you? Return not quite as effective, so Federer having a little more time there to get set up, and as a result, timing of the shot was a little easier. Always keeps that head so still on that shot. Textbook.
Game Federer.
So he gets out of trouble, managing to fend off a couple of break points along the way, and in doing so,
Leads by 5 games to 2.
extends his lead. Defending champion now, a game away from wrapping up the opening set.
Yeah, in half an hour's time, Jason, after the match might be finished, Zemlja might go, well, that was my only chance to get the break. I mean, no, he had a break point before, but Federer hit a good first serve.
Remember that against the best players in the world. You know, the one break point might be all you get. You've got to have a very clear picture in your mind of what you're going to do if you do get the chance. There can be no hesitation whatsoever. From what you've seen so far, Barry, a good chance of him improving that ranking this season, or might it be a struggle for him to consolidate a position at, you know, 80 plus in the world?
Yeah, I think that's what he is. 80. You know, in a good year he might get up to 70, but I think to get amongst the top 50, you've got to have something really special. But there are examples. Marco Cudinelli, who would have thought he would get to around 50.
So Zemlja in trouble here, needing to hold to stay in this opening set. Good footwork from Federer. Robbie, just give us some feedback on the amount of pace that Zemlja seems to be generating down there courtside. Do you think he's been aggressive enough?
Well, I think, you know, initially he's trying to play his own game, and certainly nerves are going to play their part. So you do sometimes tend to go into your shell, especially when you're playing a high-ranked player. I agree with what you guys were saying a little earlier. You got to take it to these guys. You got to do like what we saw yesterday. The Tunisian wildcard did against Songa. You got to really take it to them. You've got nothing to lose, and lay it all out there.
Yeah, that's what was so good about that performance from Malik Jaziri yesterday against Jo-Wilfried Songa.
There'll be people say, well, you know, Kanyas beat Federer in Indian Wells and Miami, and Kanyas made a lot of balls and Federer missed a few, but you know, Federer at that particular stage was struggling a bit. You know, Federer now has won 18 matches in a row.
Yeah, you've got to take that into consideration, haven't you? Federer's last loss coming the US Open in the semi-finals there, but I'll tell you what, Guillermo Cañas will be bitterly disappointed if you're suggesting he was just about as good as Zemlja, because Cañas was pretty solid, wasn't he? I mean, I know what you're saying though, but certainly had a bit more in his locker than Zemlja. Well, it's been pretty comfortable, hasn't it, throughout the course of this opening set for Federer. He's been able to play pretty freely throughout, never really under any pressure apart from those 2 break points, and here he is with a set point. Nicely done.
This.
That's a good one too from Zemlja. Confident on the shorter forehand.
Advantage Zemlja.
Nothing wrong with that return. Straight up the middle of the court at the server. Very difficult to create any kind of angle there at all. And often if you are trying to force the pace, that's when errors can come.
Advantage, Federer.
More opportunities here for Federer. I'm sure he'd like to get the second set underway on serve. So this would be a nice little bonus.
A good combination of play from Zemlja. He just hasn't been allowed really too often to get inside the baseline. As you would expect, Federer playing most of his tennis in the blue.
That was quite tight in the end, actually. It was a really fascinating rally. Federer so patient with that slice backhand. Such a good tool to use in breezy conditions. How did you see that one, Barry?
Yes, wide. 50-50, isn't it?
Yeah, that was tight. It would be such a shame if it was just wide, 'cause it was a decent rally. I think the boys have popped off for dinner. Need to get them back in the booth. Yeah, thought so.
You can't say you thought so. You asked me. You didn't say, no, I disagree.
You didn't ask me. In my head, it was good all the time. So a do-over for Zemlja. It's exquisite feel from Federer. The fade on those backhands down the line. Absolutely delightful.
Advantage, Federer.
Well, it's a superb point, and what's really encouraging from Federer is he's not overplaying. And I always feel that when he plays like that, it's because he has so much confidence in his movement.
As Robbie Koenig quite rightly suggests from courtside, he's waving that Wilson wand. And as a result, that's his third set point. Oh, brilliance.
Yeah,
Nice injection of pace there. Not easy to do when you're forced onto your back foot.
6-2.
So Federer finishes the opening set in fine fashion. Wraps it up in 31 minutes. 6-2. Good set of tennis there.
That was a superb set of tennis from Roger Federer. Very difficult to find any holes in the opening 31 minutes from the world number 3. As for Zemlja, he didn't play a bad set. He had those 2 break points. It was the second of the 2 break points at 4-2 that he'll be disappointed. Had a forehand and just really pushed it back into court, got punished. And everything is working well for Federer, as it was last night against Davydenko. And he'll hope that the second set can be the same and can get off court and look forward to the quarterfinals tomorrow.
So it'll be Federer to get this second set underway.
Netversen. Farina. First set. Second set.
So it's a good start by Federer. Here's Robbie Koenig talking to Zemlja's coach courtside.
Down here with Grega's coach, and a quick question for you, Ziga. When you're playing against somebody like Federer for the first time, what sort of advice are you giving to Grega when he comes out to such a big match?
Yeah, first of all, I told him that he should enjoy. He's actually a big idol. But anyhow, I watched the match yesterday. Of course, I watched plenty of matches before, and I told him a couple of things. What is he playing? What should he be careful to? But anyhow, I mean, if he's how to say, not if he's not tight too much, then he can play normally with him.
think he's been playing pretty well so far. Of course, he's going to be a little bit nervous. But I think, is there anything that you'd like to see him do a little differently, or are you happy with his performance so far? Just play the big points better, maybe.
Yeah, he was nervous at the beginning, but then of the set, I think he started to play better. So if he continues like this, I hope he can manage some more games, or maybe even a set. We'll see.
Well, thanks to Ziegler down here courtside, keeping his eye firmly on his charge. And he feels like his charge finished the set pretty well. Going to make some good impact here, make it a good contest. I think that's the gist of what the coach is looking for. Now that his first set's under his belt, play a little bit more relaxed.
That's always the key, isn't it? When you play a big match, you are going to be a little tight initially. Can you respond throughout the course of it? That's better.
Yeah, what the coach actually didn't mention, Jason, was that Federer doesn't often allow you to recover from the nerves. You know, he gets on you right from the word go, and you just feel crushed early on. And I don't think Zemlja's played badly at all. But Federer just does not give you a chance to play. Now, I think that's the difference now with Djokovic, Jason. You know, he's built up that aura of being the world #1, and you go into a match against him, and he's right on you from the word go, where that wasn't really the case a year ago, 18 months. And then that's something that Murray needs to improve.
And, of course, something that Nadal wants to try and do a little better this year as well, having lost a bit of confidence last season. This would be a victory in itself if Zemlja could get through this service game. Often where the matches can be lost in the early stages of a second set, having just lost the first, especially against one of the world's best players. And I'll tell you what, his coach will be delighted with that service game. There he is. Because absolutely crucial that Zemlja stays with Federer for as long as possible.
Yeah, and he's only one winner behind Roger Federer now. 11 in the racket of the Slovenian. Compare that to the former world #1. He doesn't like that, though, does he? Former world #1.
No.
Oh, actually, it's world #3 he doesn't like.
Okay.
Former world #1's just about
okay.
right. Yeah.
It's acceptable.
He prefers 16-time Grand Slam champion.
But we'll have some discussion about that because he feels he's got a good chance this year of regaining the #1 ranking. What about you?
At a push, no. Because I think the surfaces that they play on, the hard courts, Australia towards the end is slow, Indian Wells and Miami slow, then you get on the clay, and I think for someone like Djokovic, I think it certainly favours him more.
Because, of course, he's got a huge lead, hasn't he, in terms of the ranking points, but, of course, he's got so many to defend in the first 6 months. But you're suggesting that the court surface is slow enough that he should be able to do enough to maintain the ranking.
Yeah, I just think it's more of for Federer, more difficult for him to beat a Djokovic or a Nadal at the back end of one of those big events. I still do think there's Grand Slams in him.
Yeah, I mean, that's the other question, isn't it, that we're all being asked this week, and I certainly agree. But, of course, in order to do so, you probably have to go through 2 of the guys in the top 4, given their recent records at the majors. And that gets a little tougher as well, especially if it's the likes of Djokovic and Nadal, as far as Federer is concerned. But he is one of the few players that seems to have less trouble against Djokovic. But of course, has trouble against Nadal, so it's an interesting one at the very top of the game. We should see some phenomenal tennis as a result. It's on serve in the early stages of set number 2. Federer leads 2-1. Plenty of support for Federer. Federer and Nadal, of course, transcend the sport. So many fans that travel the world, watch them play, lots of locals as well, and they put all the time and effort in before making their way courtside, which is always good to see. A little old, that picture, though. That was back in the day when he had the ponytail.
Is that 2003? Maybe 2002?
Yeah. Yeah, he had that famous match with Sampras at Wimbledon before falling to our good friend, Tim Henman. And, I think that was when he won his first Wimbledon against Philippoussis, still had the ponytail, didn't he?
When he was working with Peter Lundgren.
So 2 for the price of 1 when they went down the barber's sale, wasn't it? Just get a little trim, take a centimetre off the end there.
Time.
Still having a lot of fun, despite the fact that it's a bit nippy out there. It's a lot better if you brought your Parker along. It's half decent for the concession stands, especially if you've got a nice line in sweatshirts. We should be doing a little sideline in that, buddy. Make some good money this week. No breaks as yet in set number 2, so 1-2.
Love 15.
Slightly defensive opening from Zemlja.
That's a little wild as well, isn't it? Dug himself out of a hole initially, love 30 in his opening service game, but it becomes increasingly difficult to do that on a regular basis.
Yeah, I wonder if that's the reason he started this game slowly. Often happens, you have a tough service game, and you're not used to playing at that intensity.
It's a bit cheap too. You choose the slice backhand because it's a high percentage play, so very rarely do you expect to miss it, especially when you're going cross court there.
Best slice in the game?
It's, I would say so.
Just didn't quite get in position there, Federer, and usually you see him hit that forehand, the weight's going through the ball. Not on that occasion.
Yeah, let him off the hook in his opening service game, and might be about to do the same here again. Good serve. Some decent pace on that. Yeah, anything 200k and above in cold conditions like these. Good stuff. And that's even better. Back-to-back boomers from Zemlja. And he does indeed escape for a second time from love 30 to draw level.
Yeah,
2 apiece.
And that will do his confidence the world of good to come through that other game and just to stay with Federer at the beginning of a set.
Next.
Just skips through those shots, moving forwards all the time.
It's an interesting point what you say, Jason, with that, because the modern day teaching of tennis and the forehand is the open stance. But if you have an open stance forehand, you can't hit the forehand like that. I've always felt that's one of Roddick's downfalls.
Yeah, it's almost like you've got to learn how to do that as well on that short ball, isn't it? Even if you hit with an open stance from the back of the court. I mean, that was another majestic backhand from Federer, technically perfect. Stayed nice and low throughout.
He actually generates some pace off that forehand.
Yeah, when he's got enough time to do so, it's not bad. No problem so far for Federer on serve. But Zemlja doing a better job of hanging with Federer in the early stages of this set than he did initially. Nevertheless, it's Federer who leads. 3-2. It's interesting, Barry. We talk about Federer trying to take the ball early as much as he possibly can, and you know, to be hitting almost 50% of your shots inside the baseline puts so much pressure on your opponent, doesn't it?
That's remarkable. You never see that in modern day tennis with a player staying back. I mean, usually, what would a Djokovic, would he be sort of 40, 60 maybe at best? And actually, I'm surprised that Zemlja is as high as 26.
Yeah, he's trying to fight fire with fire, but obviously that's extremely difficult. You can see with Federer's ground strokes, the vast majority of them are hit from his backhand side. Likes to run around and use the forehand there, and of course many of those will be sliced backhands as well. So that's the corner that I feel he's much more comfortable in, as opposed to being moved wide to his forehand. I think when players can get ahead in the rally and expose that lack of mobility out wide, relatively speaking, I think we see a few errors from the forehand, but still a good shot. He's had a couple of chances to break in this second set, but squandered them. Well, half chances really at love 30 in both of Zemlja's service games, if you weren't with us earlier. And it'll be the qualifier attempting to get back on level terms for a third time here.
Early 15. 40-15.
It's a better service game, wasn't it? He's done well in this second set. We heard from the coach earlier, and he said he was pretty happy with the way he's played the match so far. A little nervous initially, and he just wanted him to stick to his guns, really, and he's done that. You can see, yeah, he's encouraging him. And, of course, you get to 4-all, 5-all, anything can happen.
Yeah, I'd be delighted with that game. I was a little unsure with Federer's tactics in that last game. It certainly appeared that he just took his foot off the accelerator to sort of say, well, okay, I'm just going to make a few balls. What have you got? There's a few doubts in the camp. Wouldn't have thought too many, but just a...
I think they're just cold.
That's their doubts.
They thought they were going to get dinner at 9 o'clock. They've got severe doubts of that happening now.
That's better.
15-all.
I think if they ask for dinner to be put back 15 minutes or so, I think they'll be able to arrange that. We might struggle. That's the shot that he makes look so simple. Just brilliant hand skills.
Oh, that's a great return. He read the serve incredibly well there. So he was able to get off to a decent start. If you prepare a little earlier, then you've got a better chance of actually swinging through the ball, generating a little more pace.
Will he go to the forehand again?
Nicely done. Very simple volley. That's easy to panic there, trying to hit a winner.
40-30.
Because you often see great servers, if they get burnt by the forehand return, they go there again. So I'll say, you can't do it again.
Federer.
Shame, but it was a better game from Zemlja. He's acquitting himself well in this second set. But hasn't been able to break Federer's serve as yet. As a result, it's the defending champion who has a slender lead midway through set number 2.
Jason, I was sort of thinking in the last game about, you know, the preparation going to the Australian Open, and, you know, obviously Murray's favour going down to Australia early and getting used to the heat. And I'm wondering if Federer likes this because it's cold, so actually he's not wasting any unnecessary energy. So he's got a full tank when he gets down there.
It's an interesting one, isn't it? Because, of course, during the second week of the Open, they play most of the matches in the evening as well. So, you know, you might only get one, maybe two in the heat of the day in the Open. So the body always works better when it's a little warmer than this. This is perhaps a little too chilly for their liking. But of course on Monday it was very nice here in the evening, wasn't it? So it is an interesting one. And of course he's had success previously when he's played here and then gone on to Australia. That's always important in the psyche, isn't it, as well?
Time.
Yeah, he backed off in the first point of Zemlja's previous service game, not there. Looking to make his move.
It's a dangerous game if you continue to allow Federer to lead when you're stepping up to the line. Can't defend all evening. Federer sensing the time's right for a break of serve. Just came up there a little too early, sending the ball long as a result. So easy to do that because you're anxious. You want to see where the ball's going to land. You're not sure whether it's going to go in or not. You've got to keep your head down. Federer is such a good example in that regard. Just like all the good golfers, the head stays still throughout the stroke. Here's Federer's chance.
Yeah, Federer.
Length on the return as well. Zemlja's been a little disappointed with that service game. Didn't offer up much, really, in terms of resistance. Federer gets the vital break of serve, and he's just 4 points away now from booking his place in the quarterfinals.
It helps so much, Jason, doesn't it, when you start the game off in a positive way, win that opening point. Sometimes it's easier to come back from love 30 down in the opening couple of service games, but when it's 3-4 and you know that that basically is going to be the set if you lose your serve or the match, and
15 long.
The case really for Zemlja now.
It's good serving. Nothing too spectacular. It's certainly effective enough. Federer now just 2 points away. More of the same. Again, hasn't needed to be at his very best this evening, but he's certainly played well enough. 3 match points. Times his push to perfection, wins 12 of the last 14 points to wrap up the match pretty comfortably. In the end, good experience for Zemlja. Let's hope that he has a decent season and manages to break inside the top 100. Federer, though, continues this winning streak, which is now 19 matches undefeated. Plenty for Federer's army of fans to cheer. Gets it done this evening in straight sets in exactly an hour.
Yeah, good performance from Roger Federer. I think he was very impressive in the opening set. Probably in the second set he backed off a little bit. I think the numbers suggest that. Only hit 7 winners in the second set compared to 11 in the first. But I think in the back of his mind he always knew he was going to win. Zemlja played well. Did probably the best as he could do, but when you're a class act as Federer, he always had a 2 or 3 or maybe 4 gears to go to if need be.
Certainly seems to be hitting the ball pretty well and looks pretty comfortable out there, doesn't he? Let's see if he can handle Andrew Krasny.
Roger, good match today. Tough conditions again. I thought you handled it pretty well. What's key for you when you play in the wind?
Not getting frustrated. I used to be very emotional when I was younger. I guess growing up in Switzerland, we don't know the wind that much, and used to grow up also playing indoors. So that was a tough part of understanding how to win in the wind, and took a lot of hard work and a lot of practice in windy places. And today it doesn't bother me anymore, and that's why I'm able to play good tennis.
Okay, we get asked a lot about what happens in the off-season. A lot of fans write in. What's it like for Roger Federer in the off-season? Is it a case of, I don't want to see the inside of a gym, hide the tennis rackets, hide the tennis balls, maybe bring out the lint balls? Or is it a case of good chance to work on your base fitness, strength and conditioning?
Well, I guess it depends how much time you have. Obviously, ideal would be you have 2 months, so you can take enough time off and then really work on your fitness first, and then on your tennis. So it's all compressed in the tennis world. So we take as much time as sort of the body needs, really. And after that, I hit the gym a lot. I do spend a lot of time, on a tennis court, trying to improve, really, or at least keeping a good level. And right now, the year end was very short, so I'm just trying to maintain my level and hopefully carry it into 2012.
Well, it's looked pretty good so far. Well done today, and we'll see more of you tomorrow. Ladies and gentlemen, thanks to Roger Federer.
Yeah, Federer was suggesting the other day that he didn't feel 2 or 3 weeks was anywhere near long enough to actually work on his game. So it was just very much a case of trying to keep things progressing very nicely after the indoor season. And seems that he's done that pretty well.
Yeah, I think that's why, Jason, he was smart and taking that time off after the Davis Cup, well, US Open, then Davis Cup. So he was fresh at the end of the year. He's fresh at the beginning of this year. And I think the way he's played in his first couple of matches, I think that reflects it.
For Zemlja, he'll be a little disappointed. Played a little better in that second set, but of course he can take a lot of positives from the tournament as a whole. And of course now he'll head down to Australia and try and get involved as deeply as he possibly can in the Australian Open. So Federer signs off as a winner, makes it safely through to the quarterfinals, where he'll face Andrea Seppi. Got a pretty good record against the Italian. Seppi a winner earlier today over Guillermo Garcia-Lopez in straight sets out on court one, in the same section of the draw as Albert Ramos and Jo-Wilfried Tsonga. Ramos, of course, got a walkover earlier today. He was due to face the 6th seed from Russia, Alex Bogomolov Jr., but he hurt his ankle at the tail end of his previous match here in the first round and wasn't able to play. So it'll be Tsonga against Ramos, Seppi against Federer.
Let's see what Ryan's got up his sleeve. He's pretty enthusiastic. Roger's going straight to the point. He's not giving him any warm-up. So with the big serve as well. That's a little cheeky. depth. He's got the short ball now. Some good wheels, out the hands now. Can he finish off the point? Goes for the safe option. The work's been tested. He's got Federer now where he wants him. He's still got him where he wants him. He's definitely got him where he wants him. 100 points, 100 points. You've got to redeem yourself after that one. Federer's trying to surprise him with a certain body, but it's a good ball. Oh, the tweener! Oh, Roger Federer's handling tonight. Remember who won the pairs for Ryan. Wonderful smile on his dial. Fantastic memory, isn't it? Ryan Al-Jafari, ladies and gentlemen, together with Roger. That's a nice photo for the mantelpiece.